Hello, welcome to another episode of Set Musings, and we're up to an interesting point now, and the reason why I've got this article on MTG Wiki is because I'm going to explain a little bit about where I'm going with the series. So I've mentioned this quite a number of times now, but we're up to doing Strixhaven today in today's episode. So once I do that Set Musings, I've caught up with myself in terms of sets, because once we get to Dungeons and Dragons Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, I already have a video out for that, because that particular set I did a Set Musings for around the time it was released. So I have caught up. Going forward, when new sets come out, and here when I say new set, I'm talking about any one of the four what I call main sets that get released in the year, I'll be doing a Set Musings for those. So they'll just get dropped in as they usually do. I try and do it 2 weeks before release, 1 week before what is now still referred to as the pre-release, but it just depends on how quickly the cards get spoiled. So as of next week, we'll have a new video on Monday, and the new video will be something I'm calling Deck Musings. And the idea from it was actually formed from seeds planted, I would say, a year or two ago, when I stumbled across this standard timeline article. This was originally on Wikipedia, but for various reasons I won't go into, got ported over to MTG Wiki, and I was very happy when that happened. Excellently resourced article, yeah. And so I thought this would be a great research resource for doing a series on standard, and particularly decks in standard over time, going right back to around the time when blocks were starting to get properly designed as a block. And originally, before I stumbled across the article, I was trying to do this myself, just by going back, and I was doing it by looking at like Worlds events and Pro Tours and stuff like that. But this is fantastic. So yeah, props to the author who put this together. Yeah, you did good. You did very good. So I'm gonna start the series around here, and there's a couple of reasons why that's the case. You can see here we've got the advent of the proper, well, say proper, but what we come to know as the standard deck rules, or at least in terms of what we have the equivalent of now, because blocks have gone away, but something we had for years, which is the core set and 2 blocks effectively. So I want to start from here, and I think when I'd mentioned about this before, I'd originally proposed doing some comparisons between these decks. So just in case you missed there, if we go to the top, because I scrolled down pretty quick, we can see here we've got the beginning, the ending of the period, the legal sets, the total cards, any comments, and notable deck archetypes. And a lot of these you can see from the links, and if I was to click on them, are drawn from tournament reports and stuff like that. So this is going to be really super helpful. The other thing that this was, I suppose, gestated from, was I do have a book by Beth Morsand, who was a contributor to the Duelist, and I think involved in some point of the rules, something to do with magic rules. I can't remember exactly what. And yeah, she published a book called Deck Deconstruction Companion, and I'm pretty sure a lot of these decks are in there as well. This copy, that I don't know if you can hear me flicking on camera. when did this, oops, sorry, 1999 this was published. So it was retrospectively done on a lot of decks from that period, and it came out and was talking about obviously whatever set came out in the month whenever this was released, or round about that time. So it references basically a load of articles and then updates them in light of what's occurred since the original construction articles were run in the dual list. So it was collected together from there. And I think I've done like an on-camera video of this book at some point, but if I haven't, I'll do one at some stage, just as a complement to this. So yeah, you can see here there's some decks. We don't get into the era of theme decks until the advent of Tempest. Now, experts will know that yes, there are some Mirage decks, the Mirage Visions and Weatherlight decks, because they were retrospectively created for Magic the Gathering Online, but they were done quite a bit after the fact, and so I've opted to start any side-by-side comparisons at this point, which means the first few episodes I'm not going to feature any theme decks. I'm just going to look at ones here that I think that are interesting, that I can add something to, and just be talking about what they did, and if I can, what they ultimately evolved into, or what maybe they are today. So it sounds a bit vague at the moment, a bit artfully vague, and that's because it is. With a lot of these things, I like to just run with the idea and then hammer it out over the first few episodes. I find it more fun doing it that way. Can be a little bit challenging as a viewer, but yeah, I'm not averse to failing on camera, as you probably know. And I think, I can't remember where I read it, it's always good to make fun of yourself at least 3 times a day. So yeah, I'll definitely be making fun of myself in these videos. So yeah, so that's where I'm going. The Tuesday video, I'm going to change the name back to Commander Fodder, and you'll see the form that takes. I'll talk a bit about it when I do the Commander Durdle episode. And then the artwork video on the Friday, we're going to go back in time. It won't match up exactly with this period. I want to go back a little bit before, but it really just depends on what random cards I have from various sets. So we'll see. Anyway, so yeah, next week the usual set musings will be replaced by something I'm calling deck musings. So back to the job in hand, because I spent a bit of time there just rambling on. So Strixhaven School of Mages, 285 cards in the deck in terms of cards in the set. That was the set size in boosters. So another set where it can be a little bit confusing in terms of what was where. So I'm going to try and break this down going through here as we scroll through. So just stuff to notice about this. You'll see here they've front loaded some colourless sorceries. That's the first thing I want to point out before we get into the actual sort of Wooburg mono-coloured stuff, because here we're going through in set number order on this. Now, things to look out for. You probably notice in Scryfall the presence of those little indicators that indicate that we do indeed have double face cards. We were very much in the era of modal double face cards, so there were more in this set. We have lessons, which you may have seen there, and we'll be talking about those later when we slice and dice this. We've got instance and spells matters generally theme. There's enemy colours in the set, creature tokens as well, and we've got keywords abilities like learn, Magecraft Ward. Now, this was a bottom-up enemy-coloured faction set based on spell casting, and it's taken from the sort of magical school genre. So I think where this has been, what it's been influenced by. Now, also because of this, the different colleges within this magical school genre, we've got watermark insignias. Now, the 275 regular cards in the set, so 105 commons, 80 uncommons, 69 rares, 21 mythic rares. There's randomly inserted premium versions of cards in draft boosters. The basic lands are numbered outside of the main set and therefore don't appear in the draft boosters. Alternate card frames have card numbers. So Borderless Planeswalkers 276 to 279. Elder Dragons are 280 to 284. You can see we're now down to the multicoloured stuff, and we're only halfway through this scroll, although of course this is probably going to then tick over to the higher numbers for the alternate cards. So yeah, Dragons 280 to 284, extended artwork 285 to 265, basic lands 285 to 365, basic lands I'm getting in a mess here, 366 to 375, buy a box 376, and the promo bundle 377. Then we've got FMN treatment cards for the Universal Promo Pack is 378 to 382. There's no showcase cards here, but there is a mystical archive which we'll get on to near the end. Other things they did here, a few tweaks. The set introduces the term mana value instead of converted mana cost. Shuffle your library shortened to shuffle. And activate this ability only anytime you cast a sorcery is shortened to activate only as a sorcery. 5 colleges which are founded by the Elder Dragon, whose name each college bears. Silver Quill, which is white-black. Prismari, blue-red. Witherbloom, which is black-green. Lorehold, which is red-white. And Quandrix, which is green-blue. There's also some Planeswalkers mixed in amongst this as well. So you can see this is where the booster numbering stops, and this is where these other, the draft booster numbering. Yeah, because we're in a world of multiple types of boosters. We've got, are we up to premium? No, we haven't hit the slightly more premium bundles yet, because I think, yeah, this was the last set that I bought, the old-fashioned bundle. Okay, so here we go. Here's our basic lands. There's our foil only booster cards. Here's our borderless cards, or borderless planeswalkers. There's 4. Alternate art borderless cards. Extended art. There's 81 of those in the set. The other thing, it was obvious I suppose, but I didn't specifically mention, is that you'll notice that the different colleges are enemy colours. I mentioned earlier that obviously we have these as well. These mogul spells, which we will get onto. Yeah, so a lot of artwork that extends out over the side bordering. buy a box. We're nearly there. Promos. Alchemy cards. There we go. There's a few of those. Okay. So, here. Also at this point, shout out to regular viewer and friend of the channel for pointing me in the right direction for this, probably because I was too lazy to look it up myself. In paper, very useful. I didn't get the chance to use it last week simply because I'd already prepped for the episode, but yeah, so yeah, thanks for that suggestion, and it certainly saved me bothering to look it up, so I'll be using that in the future if I ever get up to sets where there's a good degree of online shenanigans going on. And as you saw, I was using a bit of a hack to do that because the alchemy cards had A- in front of the name, so it's nice to have the proper command there. And I've said it multiple times, I really need to do some episodes on Scryfall because it'll be good for me to just bother to get down into the weeds of the Scryfall special commands. But that's for another video. So you can see here, it says there's around 100 cards, excluding those alchemy cards, above the 275 cutoff for the ones that are only in the draft boosters. We've already seen these anyway, but I always like to just clarify that. I only have one reprint, which I had to triple check this numerous times because I thought that's really unusual. You don't normally just have one reprint in the set, but yeah, that's just a single reprinted card. I don't know whether I've ever seen that before. You know, outside of you know, the original core sets were totally reprints. Okay, so the rest are all just new cards. Pretty easy math on that. Right, slicing through the different colour identities and various other combinations of things in terms of casting cost and what's in activation costs, and you know, the generation of mana in the rules text area. So we've got 16 cards where there's no specific colour required in the casting cost, and also nothing in here. It's all mana of any colour. Yeah, I think you can get a feel for there. There's even these modal cards, or one there that falls into that category. Also you can see the lessons here as well. So what else have we got? Interesting one. So, and we can use any mana to cast this, but you can see in terms of the colour identity, it's Wooburg because of its ability to produce you know, the 5 colours of magic, and it's also a legendary artifact creature construct. So that means we can have this as a commander. Okay, so this is 140 cards where the casting cost is 1 colour, but also if there is any additional colours at all, they don't deviate from the colour identity, and make it like, you know, 2 colour. So both same colour here, and if it is indeed in here, same colour. So these are all the ones where you've got 1 colour in the casting cost, and then possibly another colour if it's a modal spell in the other casting cost, or another colour in the activation cost. So with these, you can see all of them are, you know, a colour identity more than 1, as purely as a result of them being modal cards and having a different colour on the flip side. So this is all the two colour stuff in the casting cost. And I like to do this mainly because it gives us some idea of you know, generally what the two colour stuff was, and then when we come to look at the draft indicators, which are often always two colours, although you know is different in different sets sometimes. Like how big a subset of that is, or whether you know the archetype indicator cards are really the only or a large amount of two colours. But we can see here with 90 cards where there's two colour here in the casting cost. And again, it could be the case like this one where we've got two colours on one side and two colours on the other side, or another colour on the other side as well. So yeah, quite a big difference here. So definitely, you know, very much a two colour set, and that makes sense because of the colleges are two colour. So in amongst that, you probably did see this, which is the one I mentioned. So there's, you know, this is colour identity of three colours. There's two colours on each of the side, and it shares a common colour of black, but on this one the other colour's white. On this side, interestingly enough, it's black red, and so this is an allied colour sorcery as opposed to an enemy coloured creature. So I thought that was interesting. Nothing with a casting cost that includes more than two colours there, which again is interesting. But we might see some, as we go along again, we might see some interesting combinations of, you know, various shenanigans between the casting cost and the activation cost. But I think we've seen most of those already, or the flips, how they work, and the colour differences between the two sides of the cards. But we'll deal with those as we go along. So we've got, did I just accidentally, whoops, have I done something very foolish there? Yep, it's alright. That sometimes happens. So I accidentally clicked on the X instead of the tab. Let's do that. Okay, here we go. So 41 white creatures, or that have, you know, white in the casting cost, more correctly. So what do we got? Spirit Soldier, Human Wizard, Bird Cleric. It's interesting to see how, if there are any creature type aspects here, how that might break down. The set introduced, I believe, Inklings and Fractals as creature types. Yeah, there was stuff like Inklings, Elementals, Pests, Spirits and Fractals. I think, which were tokens in the set, and they were sort of tied into the various colleges. By just scrolling through this, we're seeing what spirit creatures. So quite a lot of spirits here. Oh yeah, actually quite a few. Some humans. So when we get to, that's here because it's white on the flip side, and then we've got some of the two colour and more stuff. Interesting here, you can see the combination of like regular and hybrid in an interesting configuration. You can also spot here, you see the the watermarks, which I'm sure we'll get onto in a moment. So let's look at blue and just have a quick scroll down. I'm probably not going to shout out everything because, as you can see, it's a little bit varied. We're seeing, you know, some wizards in blue, again some humans, and then we're moving fairly quickly to the two colour stuff, which, you know, there's no surprise because of that strong tie to the different colleges. But you can see obviously we've got, you know, different enemy colours featuring blue here, and these will repeat themselves obviously in other slices when we get to the colours. So here we got a couple of modals, white and black. Got some warlocks here. Oh, there's a pest. There's the black side. So yeah, looks like we're definitely seeing warlocks in black. I'm not sure how common that had been in Magic up till now. So now let's move on to blue again. You can see here, oh, sorry, red I mean, when I say blue, red. And there's the red on the flip side. What have we got? We seem to have shamans featuring quite a bit here in amongst all the other creature types. Yeah. And then you can see how that might combine with some of the other colours. There's our Elder Dragon. I'm sure we'll get onto those in a moment specifically. And now we get to green. So let me just flip those. And I would, yeah, expect druids here. So it looks like, you know, green predominantly, or quite a large number of druids. The red ones were shamans. Black was warlocks. Blue, was it mainly wizards perhaps, in terms of magical folks? And the white ones appeared to be maybe, would that be clerics? Yeah, clerics, I think. Yeah. So clerics, wizards, warlocks, shamans, and druids. Big spells. 10 of those. Going up to a maximum of 8 from 7. Okay, it's a pretty tight band. Okay, here we go. Double face cards. So 16 of those. So let me flip these so you can see what's on the other side. Also, we'll get a feel for the fact that it looks like, and you can tell from the colour down here, that they were one colour on one side and another on another. And you can see also the type of spell was different in several cases. I mean, some things like we've got planeswalkers on both sides. Here we got legendary creatures on both sides as well. So pretty cool. And of course, again with these, they are modal double face cards, so you get to choose which side you cast. So we had some lessons. So there were 20 of these. So this was a new sorcery type, which we'd not seen before. In terms of sorceries, oh sorry, am I gonna, have I jumped ahead there? Yeah, no, yeah, it was only sorceries, few. So yeah, there's a lesson spell type. And we've seen spell types before, so particularly what I'm thinking about is the ones way back, you know, like Lorwyn and those ones where you have, you know, they'd actually assigned a, you know, creature tribe to, say, a sorcery or an instant. And this was exclusive for this set, I believe. Oh, sorry, no, exclusively sorceries and instants, and it was introduced in Strixhaven, closely connected to the learn mechanic. Okay, so in Strixhaven it only appeared on sorceries, but it can appear on instants as well. Okay. And you'll also notice a number of these were completely colourless. So, a bit of a mixture here. As you can see, we've got some mono-coloured ones and then some two-coloured ones and some colourless ones. So what I wanted to do is just highlight how many cards particularly reference the word spell somewhere in the rules text. And there were 71. There were 71. The other thing I thought it would be worth doing is just doing a bit of a helicopter view of the different colleges. So we've got 22 cards which have the silver quill watermark on them. And you can see some of those have the other colour, the enemy colour on the other side. Some it's in the casting cost, and you probably saw there was there's also some which are land, and there's one here which is a monocolour card. 25 in the Prismari College. Again, we've got some of the modal cards, a couple of the monocolour cards here, a couple more, and then we move on to the two-colour stuff, and then the lands. In Witherbloom, again you can see here there's a double-faced one, there's some monocolour ones, and then more double-faced. In fact, yep. Looks like there's, I don't know if there's more monocolour ones in green. I'm not sure there actually. I haven't really been keeping count in my head. And then we get the two-colour stuff and the lands. And then Lawhold, 25 with the watermark on. Again, just quickly flipping through. Maybe slightly less monocolour ones in this particular college. And then you can see, so already we're starting to see where there's probably some land cycles in the set. And then Chondrix. There we go. Yeah. Neat artwork. Oh, I do hope I've got that. But we'll see. And there's our land. Oh yes, tokens. There are quite a number of tokens being generated. And I did mention that before. You know, that certain tokens were tied to the colleges. So we've got elemental tokens being produced. We've got pest tokens. What else have we got? Inkling tokens. There's spirit stuff. More spirits. Fractals. Inklings and pests. Yes. And pests will become important in a moment, as you'll see when we get to the end. 21 cards with learn on them. So with learn you may reveal a lesson card. So that's the tie to the lesson. You may reveal a lesson card you own from outside the game and put it into your hand, or discard a card to draw a card. Yep. So you can see learn is the same here all the way through. There's no additional cost here, but there is this modal aspect, I suppose, to it, where you can either reveal a lesson card from outside the game and put it into hand, or discard a card and draw a card. So interesting combination there. Oh, Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, Clever Luminancer gets +2 until end of turn. And the commonality here on the template for Magecraft is whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, and then this second bit changes. You can also see that Magecraft is on here on a Planeswalker. And so no surprise with that particular, you know, the way the spell works, it interacts, it's all on permanence. We've got 5 ward cards, so with ward, it's ward and then a value. Here, interestingly, there's an alternative cost outside of mana of any cost, where rather appropriately in black you can pay 3 life, and also in the white-black one. And with ward, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability and opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 2. So you can see there how this and this are related. Why have I got that there? Oh, it's because it's got Warden in it. Yeah, ignore that one. Yeah, that shouldn't be there. Yeah, so here and here. So it's the opponent paying this. If they actually want the spell to hit, so to speak. Now we finally move on to the lessons. I suspect this video is going to be a little bit longer than usual because of my rather long preamble. So 5 rare lessons, all monocoloured. And within the lesson you can see some are modal. So we're getting modality as a result of the double face cards, but also modality as a result of, you know, on just the card itself. Cycle of rare learners, so 5 rare mono kind of permanents with learn. What else? 5 masteries. I nearly said mysteries. 5 masteries. Rare monocoloured spells with a lower alternate casting cost that provides some kind of benefit to opponent if the alternate cost is paid. So yeah, interesting to see cards with alternate costs which weren't part of, say, a keyworded ability or anything like that. So, some more lessons. These are uncommon. Mono-coloured lessons. Now, there's a loose cycle here, I think it's sometimes called, of uncommon learners. And where it's loose is there's actually 2 in red. So you've got these uncommon spells with learn. 1 for each of the colours except for red where there's 2. And then a whole load of other 2 colour cycles. So there's the 5 Mythic Rare Elder Dragons, and you'll notice all illustrated by the same artist. And each of these dragons is the founder of their college, and they're referred to, I believe, as founders. No surprise there. We've got a cycle of Mythic Rare spells, so 5 Mythic Rare spells with an expensive cost, or in one case must be paid expensively for a powerful, massive effect. Ooh, nice artwork. Wow. Yeah. We'll see what we have for the Friday artwork video. Eh? So another cycle here. Hybrid rares. So 5 rare spells with hybrid mana cost. So 4 hybrid. And it's been a while, I think, since we've seen stuff like that. As you know, where it's got quite so many hybrid mana, but you know, good degree of flexibility there, because you can pay in terms of the mana for each one of these either white or black. We saw some 2-brid stuff, didn't we, fairly recently, and a few sets back that I did as well, which is a variation on that. Legendary students, 5 uncommon legendary creatures, each supporting a draft archetype. So this is one way they've gone for the draft archetype. Interestingly, you know, obviously having to map that onto the colleges. Legendary students, but at uncommon. We have 5 legendary apprentices, uncommon multicoloured humans with magecraft. So with these are gold hybrids. So you can see what's happening here. We've got 2 colour cards, each of the colours either side of the casting cost, and then this hybrid one in the middle. So you can sort of see the different variants in ways that you can pay for this. So you could pay for this 2 white and a black, or 1 white and 2 black, and the same with the others as well. Powerful uncommon creatures with mana costs X, and then mana, hybrid, and then regular mana. So cycle of summonings, 5 common hybrid lessons that each creates 1 or more creature tokens of a type characteristic of that college. Each has 2 hybrid symbols in its cost, so it's a better way of seeing the tokens. So inklings, elementals, pests, spirits, and fractals. You can see the specific colleges have been mentioned here. These are pledge mages with Magecraft, each with the name of the college. There's quite a few cycles in this set. Okay, gold common creatures. So in addition to the legendary students mapping to the draft archetypes, we have the usual cards which we see here, which also map to a draft archetype, but the way they've done it with these is, normally you see 10 on here, because they do each of the two colours. Assuming because of this is because of the colleges and the fact that it's enemy colours. What they've done is they've doubled up here. So we've got a number of common multicoloured creatures, and then some. Hang on, let me wind back on that, because yeah, so I'm gonna take that back. So yeah, I've got them mixed in here actually, just because yeah, a little bit lazy on my part. So let me just re-explain that, because I've got the other ones coming up in a moment. So there were two cycles of creatures which were both two-colour enemy colours. We've got a cycle which support the draft archetype, which are Spiteful Squad, Spectacle Mage, Blood Researcher, Stonebound Mentor, and then Biomathematician. So they support the draft archetypes. And then also at common, there were a cycle of common evergreen creatures. They all had 2 abilities on them. And 4 of them have 2 evergreen keyword abilities, while 1 has 1 evergreen keyword and 1 evergreen keyword action. And they were Owlin Shield Mage, Ogyar Battle Seer, Mouldering Korok, I think that is, Relic Sloth, and the last one was Needleborn Drake. So I've got sort of 2 cycles in here within this slice. The cycle of the creatures which represent the draft archetypes, and the cycle of creatures that are also at common which have the 2 keyword abilities on them. Now we move on to the 5 gold common spells which support the draft archetypes. That's why I was getting a little bit confused. And you can see, but the point is they all map to the same 2 enemy colours. So it's not the case that, there's enemy and allied. It is all enemy. So the 10 cards that map to the draft archetypes, there's 2 in each, and 1 is a creature and 1 is a spell for the enemy colours. And they're there to support that draft archetype. But interesting enough, you'll notice they're at common. They're uncommon. But the other ones we looked at, which were the legendary students, are uncommon. So there's a bit of a twist here in terms of those draft archetype signpost cards. Phew, Glad I got over that. Hybrid common spells. So 5 common hybrid instants or sorceries. There we go. Interesting that this one, you can see it doesn't have a, I nearly said a guild watermark, a college watermark. Oh, same thing. Must have done that twice by accident. And yeah, there I decided to just do that again. So those were those 2 colour commons. And then we've got 5 common dual tap lands with scry on them for a cost of 4. And you can see they have the watermarks. There's 5 modal double face cards. And these you'll spot are at Mythic. They're all rare legendaries. So that's a mixture of legendary creatures and legendary planeswalkers in amongst there. And you can see the flip side, particularly in the case of this, is actually a sorcery. So a bit of variability there in terms of what's on the other side. Double-faced Deans. So these are 5 rare legendary modal double face cards. Each side represents a Dean who is a spellcaster aligned with 1 colour of a college. So you can see there we've got the black and the white, white and black, red blue, blue red, green black, black green, white red, so red white, and then blue and green, so green blue. So we've got a lot of legendary action going on here at various rarities. Spell permanence. 6 rare modal double face cards, the back of each being an instant or sorcery. So what they've done here is you've got one which is colourless. So there's the white into black, the blue red, black green, red white, green blue, and then the colourless one. Looks rather, shall we say, Eldrazi inspired. Well, it does to me. And there you go. So seems to be, you know, the big bad is either not that I'm saying that was the case in this set because I can't remember the backstory, but yeah, either Bolos, Eldrazi or Phyrexia. Or all 3, possibly. Treasure spells, vertical cycle, 1 in each of the rarities. Let's just get this right. So yeah, common, uncommon, and actually mythic rare. I mean, I say in one of each of the rarities, you normally find with these, it's either a rare or a mythic rare. Each of these 3 blue-red instants or sorcery spells has a mana value over 6 and can be discarded for 2 of the blue-red hybrid mana to create a treasure. So we've got treasure tokens in here. We do have some pairs. We've got Harness Infinity and Body of Research. These are both at Mythic. You can see there. That's heavy investment in the 2 colours. Don't know quite how that would play out in draft or sealed, but anyway, there. And then we've got 2 uncommon 2/2 creatures that put a 1/1 counter on a creature when they enter the battlefield. Each has a secondary ability that benefit creatures with a +1/+1 counter on them. Dueling Coach and Tenured Inkcaster. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of cycles in here. We've got a... Now, is this... What is this? Oh, yeah, so, yeah, strictly speaking, this is a mega cycle because it completes a cycle starting in Shadows over Innistrad. So this was where they enter the battlefield tapped, except if you reveal a land with the corresponding basic land type from your hand. In this set, they were referred to as snarls, and you can see they're in the enemy colours. They complete a cycle of 2 coloured... No, they complete a cycle started in Shadows over Innistrad. Okay, jumping ahead here. This here is a cycle of commands, which are also a mega cycle. Rare modal spells. They have 4 modes and allow you to choose 2 different modes rather than merely 1. They complete a cycle of 2 coloured Elder Dragon named spells started in Dragons of Tarkir. So here they're named after the colleges, which are in turn named after the Elder Dragons. So that's why they are mega cycles, even though they have sort of specific naming in both cases. To the sets, these sets, this most recent set. Okay, 21 mythics. And some of those, as you can see, are modal double face cards. The Elder Dragons there are at mythic. Always nice to see more Elder Dragons. 10 basics, and as I pointed out, these have got numbers above the set booster numbering. Nice, and always looking forward to a Land Ahoy episode around the end of the year. So 14 non-basic lands. So we've already looked at the 2 sets of 5. You know, one set at common, 1 set at rare. So what else do we have? Well, we have Access Tunnel, which is yeah, this is because I can't now remember the name of the card that I always tend to put, or used to tend to put in EDH decks when I did Commander Durdle. But similar thing, allows stuff to sneak through. Was it rare? Rogue's Passage. So similar to a Rogue's Passage, although a little bit more power specific. Archway Commons. So we see this before in sets. So fairly, what's the word? Innocuous wave. It comes into play tapped, and then when it enters the battlefield, you have to sacrifice it unless you pay 1, and then you can add 1 mana of colour. So it's delayed, and also there's an additional cost. And this is, you know, we've seen variants of this and functionally the same cards in Magic before. Hall of Oracles. So a filter land, but then we've got these this additional ability to do with counters, and then a utility land here which generates colourless mana. As does this, or sorry, yeah, generates colourless mana, as does this. But this one we've got instant and sorcery shenanigans going on, and top of the library stuff. Okay, 4 planeswalkers, 2 of which are modal double-sided, which you have the choice to have a different planeswalker. 21 legendaries that are not planeswalkers, and you can see a number of these are modal, and their modality is either another legendary creature or a non-creature spell by the look of things. And then we've got Cody down here as well. So yeah, well, say a few here. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 out of 21. So yeah, it is less than half. So just over a third. Okay, 3 enchantments. A single aura. 6 of these artifact creatures, including this, which is a legendary artifact creature. I don't know. I'm always happy to see a wall. I don't know why. And we have our wall with mill. It's always interesting when walls make you unusually happy. I don't know what that is. 3 pieces of equipment. So not a ton of equipment. And then 4 of these artifacts, except one could be a sorcery. So we have 53 instants. Now I know because of the set, none of these are going to be modal. Oh, sorry. Well, one. It's all right. What did? No, actually, yeah, I meant none of these are going to be lessons. Yep, my mistake. None of these are going to be lessons, because lessons are always sorceries. But it's quite possible that some, in this case, probably, well, let me keep my mouth shut till I get to the end here. One is actually modal double-faced. It's funny, I got into my head that all of the modal double-faced, yeah, none of them were instants for some reason, but no, that's not the case. So we have one here that's an instant. So there's a lot going on instant-wise in this set. Let me go back to the top. Spend a little bit more time. So we got some modal stuff which isn't double-faced. Exile here. Just scroll down. You probably spot the usual things that you would expect in some of these colours at instance, but we've got, you know, stapling with learn. Some additional conditions as well. Some things which are playing to certain themes of the set. You'll notice there's also some of these do actually have watermarks on them for the colleges. Got a bit of alternative cost going on in there. Some interesting twists as well with these, you know, depletion cards that you see in black. It's interesting. Oh, and some asymmetric pump as well. More pump. And then we have all the 2-colour stuff. So yeah, a lot of 2-colour instants here. So this is going to, normally when you've got multicolour spells, you get additional flexibility because they're, you know, doing combinations of the sort of instant spells that you might find in the respective colours. Either because of like modality or just the wording. So sorceries, did I split this? No, I don't think I bothered because we'd already seen the lessons, but as we know, a number of these sorceries are actually lessons. There's actually 74 sorceries here. I expect more of these to be the flip side of double-sided cards, double-face cards, which is the case, so more than we saw with the instance here. Just go down this and do that before I start talking about this. So obviously doing that, and I think this is the first time where we've actually gone over a page. You know, doing that also has the advantage in it increases the count of a certain type of spell, in this case sorceries, so that contributes. But even with that considered, you can see there's a lot more cards that are not, or not more sorceries in the set generally, that haven't had the, don't have the benefit of the double face cards. Yeah, it's a lot going on here. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty much sure I never played this set. Wow, there's pretty psychedelic artwork in this set. Yeah, I just scroll through this and hopefully you're getting an idea for what's going on and what utility we are getting afforded in this. You can see the lessons. Does that? It's weirdly repeated itself, has it? Oh, there we go. We've got all the colourless stuff at the end there. Just gently scroll through that again. In case there's anything you missed. Interesting, like regular modal here as well. We're seeing a lot. Some interesting conditions here and other things. There's a bit of amplification going on as well. Yeah, I didn't flip them this time, so okay, interesting. Funny. Right. Yeah, back to the whole set. It's interesting here. They've included the land in the MTG Wiki article. It says they weren't in draft boosters, but I'm not sure. I'm assuming that's correct. Right, prices. Okay. Oh, wow. That's really interesting. So $11. Wow, okay. So this doesn't look like it's, yeah, price-wise, not really held anything. I don't even know actually what the prices were like when it came out. Okay, that did surprise me. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's funny. I've been slightly blindsided by the artwork and not really thought a lot about how good the set was outside of say drafting it. And even that I don't really know. I don't have a lot of what's the word? A lot of memories of this set. I do know that I did buy the Commander product that went with it. But yeah, this got below $10 pretty fast. People have to let me know in the comments section, you know, in terms of the Elder Dragon stuff, how much of that ended up in, you know, in play. I mean, we'll get to see in a moment, roughly, from terms of when we look through EDH Rec, but I'm always curious of what people's personal experience was outside of the stats. I'm just trying to think. I didn't say when this came out, so April 23rd, 2021. So yeah. Yeah, as you know, there was one reprint in here, so it's quite amusing. Did I even bother? Yeah, I did, just for fun. So, yeah. So, in terms of the EDH ranking, Stormkill, Artist, Archmaid, Emeritus, yeah, it doesn't look like there's many legendaries that just appear in decks anywhere. Belladros Witherbloom is the first one. So our reprint, Grinning Ignis, obviously makes the top of the pile just through the fact that there's no other reprints. That was in Future Sight, Modern Masters, Time Spiral Remastered. If we merge the two together, I suspect it's probably quite far down, maybe, I don't know. Grinning Ignis, yeah. Oh yeah. Doesn't even feature in the combined list. So let's have a look at the legendaries or the legendary creatures in the set. So Belladros Witherbloom is the one that's been cropping up most on EDH Rec in any slot, be it, you know, actually as a commander or as one of the 99. Should we have a quick look? I don't do this very often, but let's just see. 3,699 decks. Okay, so moving on. So yeah, this set, you can see there's quite a lot of tokens and emblems actually kicking out. And again, it's not something I really talk that much about. I've mentioned the Eventide Shadowmoor staff and Invasion block, similarities to that, and the fact that there was just so many cycles in here as well, some a bit looser than others, functional reprints, but you know, now we've been for quite a while, but yet we're well into the era of just kicking out commander decks for every set, you know, commander decks for everyone. This one had 5 and it aligned with what would have been Commander 2021. So what is part of the alignment of commander decks with sets and replacing Planeswalker decks, theme decks, whatever you want to think, intro decks, however you want to think of them. We had this thing where the set, which would be around the time of the actual yearly commander product, also took on the theme of the set. And as part of this, I believe also, yeah, sorry, I've jumped ahead a little bit there. So as part of this, I think we have this thing where, yeah, they slightly renumber and re-indicate the cards that are, you know, in there that are from Strixhaven, and the ones that are unique cards as well. So there's you know, they've been doing that for a little while now, but just indicating, okay, what are we pulling across? What are reprints from outside, and what are new cards as well? And you sort of being able to tell that from things like, you know, the indicator, the set badge, and the numbering as well, to sort of try and work out you know, where they occur in that thing. So you can sort of determine from a combination of the numbering and the badging what category it falls into, whether it's you know, something from specifically is new, or whether it's from Strixhaven set, in which case it have the Strixhaven logo, or whether it's you know, a reprint of something, by the absence of the Strixhaven logo, but the fact that it's in the reprint card number area as well. So you have your commander here. And, you know, there was, within the thinking of it as almost like a set, you have these cycles. So you've got, you know, the face commanders, you've got the alternate commanders. I think probably by this time, hadn't they dropped the idea of having 3, so 2 and 2 alternates? We'll be down to 1 and 1. I'm sure we'll get to these at some point when I do the deck flip through. But, yeah, it was a sort of bit of messing around going on here with the commander formula. Although, if you remember, for the sets where they did 2 decks, there was a period where the decks were cheaper and they were quite a little bit more underpowered than we were usually used to with commander decks. So we have this mystical archive as well. So this was instead, I suppose, of the masterpieces. So they appear more frequently and have a more profound effect on the limited environment. And if we look at that, what do they look like? Well, here we got, you know, so now you can see we have here, I'm sure you can recognize the reprints here. And there are a lot of these. There's Doomblade. So, oh, we've got some alternate art as well. Yeah, I forgot about, yeah, there was all of this stuff as well. Wow. I don't feel quite as confused as I necessarily did last week, but yeah, definitely confusion is a thing now. Yeah, here's the Commander 2021, which I've already mentioned. So Silver Quill Statement, Prismari Performance, Witherbloom Witchcraft, Lorehold, went to see Lorehold Legumes, Lorehold Legacies, Legumes of Lorehold, and Quantum Quandrix. Sounds like a James Bond film, doesn't it? Quantum Quandrix. Yeah. Yes, actually that answered my question. It was only one primary and a secondary. Okay, so what have we got this week for the last episode of Commander Durdle, before it goes back to being Commander Fodder again? Okay, Diner, Soul Steeper. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. 1, sacrifice another creature. Diner Soul Steeper gets X plus 0 until end of turn, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. So you'll see in a moment when I go through this, yeah, there's a bit of another sub-theme going on as well, but we'll talk about that when I get to the episode. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in the next episode.